Welcome, Martina. Right again, delighted to welcome Martina from Fireboy, fire suppression systems and all that. I don't have to tell you the importance of this stuff. It is really critical stuff. So without further ado, over to you, Martina. And thanks very much for coming.
Thank you very much. Hi, nice to meet you, everybody. My name is Martina. I'm from a company called Fireboy. I'll briefly touch up on what we do as a company. Most of it involves fire extinguishers, so fixed fire systems for machinery spaces, and fixed fire detection for machinery spaces accommodation, so the whole vessel. Topics covered today will be fire extinguishers, what we offer as a range for different applications, what suppressants or clean agents we use. We only work with clean agents as a company. Most relevant to most of you will probably be our pre-engineered fixed fire suppression range. So I'll go into detail on that and the servicing and what you would expect to see as a surveyor on a boat. Then we look at different fire detection systems, conventional, addressable. I have put there a bit on the bigger vessels, but briefly, and then specific requirements for specific applications. So MGN 627 fishing vessels and GN 280, for example. So just the pleasure, small commercial vessels. Fireboy, as a company, we do 100% marine safety solutions. We don't do any land-based. So some of our parent company in America do have the land-based and industrial solutions, but I'll just stick it to the marine side because that's what we do 100% in the UK. So all of our fire extinguishers are fixed fire systems, only using clean agent fire suppression. The one on the left, the smaller family, that's our main product at the moment. There'll be the pre-engineered systems that you're probably going to see on most of the boats you come across on the small side. So either pleasure boats, small commercials, sport boats, small fishing vessels under 24 meters. The engineered systems are more for classed vessels. So that's the bigger family on the left, on the right side. That's for vessels that are 24 meters in length, low line length, or commercial vessels. We also offer a big range of accessories that you would see fitted alongside it. There's an electronics, warning display units, engine shutdowns for automatic activation, and then fire detection. We do have quite a few offers. We've got a conventional small range, so you probably come across all of them between the small fishing vessels, commercial boats, and super yachts, or just the pleasure yachts. So the biggest question is, why fit a fire extinguishing system in a machinery space? Well, 90% of the fires start in a machinery space, or these days, a battery, electric rooms, storage rooms for the diesel or batteries. Most of them go undetected until it's too late. Now, the common thing is to, obviously, you always have a handheld portables. So the first primary subject would be to try and fight that with a handheld, but it's only if it's safe. Most of the time you have to be able to, it's a small fire. Do you have a safe exit? That's when the fixed fire suppression comes in. It gives you 24/7 protection in the automatic activation. Not so much on a manual because you have to have someone to operate, but we do manual, automatic combined, or manual only. So they're not dependent on any power source. So basically it's all mechanical activation. Automatic activation, the cylinder goes off automatically when the temperature reaches 79 degrees Celsius. So each head would have a glycerin bulb fitted that melts at 79 degrees and sets off the fire extinguisher. If you have the manual automatic version, if the fire is discovered prior to that, you would then activate manually by pulling a cord, or electronically. You can use like a release panel and press the button. The good thing with the clean agent is that it doesn't have to be pointed at a hazard. It fitted somewhere in the protected space. It discharges all of the contents under 10 seconds. So, and it puts out the fire by not displacing the oxygen, but it's The agents we use, the clean agents, we use HFC 227 or Novik, well, brand name Novik, but it's FK 5112. They're both clean agents. They do not displace oxygen. They are basically fighting by cooling and breaking the chemical reaction within the fire. So that's the common misconception between the CO2 hail and these clean agents. With the right concentration, it puts out the fire quickly. The most two common agents we still use, it's HFC 227, brand name FM200, or FK 5112, brand name Novik 1230. As you probably are aware or should be aware, HFC is controlled substance under F-gas. The F-gas regulation was published by a European Chemical Agency, ECH, in 2016. After Brexit, Environment Agency has taken over the F-gas regulation, published the UK version that's applicable at the moment. Anyone that wants to place HFC 227 on the market has to have a quota or an authorization to place the product filled with the chemical on the market. The same rules also unfortunately apply to anyone that wants to work with it. So if you want to service, install, commission fire extinguishers that contain HFC 227, you have to be trained to do that. So you have to have a training certificate. The only authorized body in the UK to do fixed fire extinguishing system training for F-gas at the moment is FIA. So if you come across anyone that does the work or install and commission the extinguishers, they should be F-gas trained by FIA for any extinguisher that contains more than 3 kilos of HFC 227. We have to monitor all the suppliers or any engines that we use, because we are not legally allowed to sell to anyone that's not trained. So that's why lots of boat builders or service agents have now swapped to FK 5112, which is a similar chemical category. So they are a coolant agents, clean agent as well, but it's got a bit more of a green attack to it. It's got lower global warming potential. So when released, it remains in the atmosphere for a very short time. So it doesn't affect Earth so much as, for example, HFC, which does have quite a high global warming potential. So lots of the manufacturers, including us, have moved away from HFC. We do still offer it. We do have a quota for UK. We can supply it, but we have to make sure that we supply it to anyone that's trained and knows how to use it and how to work with it. So this probably shows the picture of the most common extinguishers you'll come across in the machinery spaces of the boats you come across on a smaller market. The HFC version, that's the manual automatic valve. They are very similar. The only difference there is it's the valve and the sprinkler. On the left-hand side, the valve's pointing outside with the sprinkler. So when the bulb breaks, the gas will come around the sprinkler and just come into the space. With the FK 512 extinguisher, the valve's more of a vertical and the nozzle is only 180 spaced. So when you come across the installation, you want to make sure that that faces straight into the space with no obstructions. And then the chemicals release through the openings or the holes on the valve, as you can see. Each extinguisher will come with a pressure gauge. So one of the main checks is to make sure that the pressure gauge is in a green range. That's an indication of being within the pressure. If it's going to be into the red a little bit, that's okay. Obviously, these are filled at 20 degrees Celsius, so not much in the UK, but in some hot countries with temperatures inside of the engine room that could be sometimes driven up. But we always fill at room temperature. We have specific environments, so we have heaters. We have a ventilation to allow us to fill at the exact temperature, so it always is within that right range. When the cylinder is empty, they'll go just straight to the zero, you know, you have an issue. Each of them will have a low pressure switch, which is the black switch with the two spades coming out of it. It's just a circuit that monitors a closed circuit. Basically allows you to monitor the gauge. So if you have a visual and audible indication at helm, it will indicate low pressure either during the leak, fault, or in the discharge. We offer two different versions of the pre-engineered range. Obviously, they all come in different sizes, from very small ones that protect 0.7 cubic meters of space up to very tall and quite big cylinders that do up to 1800 cubic feet. Most of the one they will probably come across are either manual automatic or manual only. With regards to MCA, they prefer the manual only activation for their class vessels, but some of the smaller sporting boats or secondary compartments like lazarettes, I don't know, steering gear rooms will have an automatic cylinder. With the automatic cylinder only, the only activation there would be automatic at 79 degrees Celsius. With the manual automatic, you still have the automatic bit, but you can discharge it earlier if the fire has been discovered prior to by fire detection, CCTV system, thermal cameras, or anything else that you've got fitted. With the change from HFC to FK, all our bigger cylinders have to be fitted vertically. They cannot be fitted horizontally, which has become a problem in some of the smaller engine spaces. So we have had to go through the fire testing and develop a new valve, which has only got one opening for the chemical to come through to allow for the horizontal mounting for the smaller spaces. These ones can only be mounted horizontally, so you cannot exchange vertical or horizontal. So part of the survey would be make sure that the installation there is correct. Now, this should have been checked on a commissioning before the vessel leaves the shipyard, but if it's a refit or replacement after end of the life, you could come across an incorrect installation. The cylinder will still discharge, it will still work, the chemical will come out, it's just the concentration might not be 100% enough to put out the fire if it's not mounted as per manufacturer's instructions. We always ask these questions during the quotations. Manuals comes out with every cylinder. Instructions are in a manual step by step, including checks following the installation, but it still happens, unfortunately. So it's very important to make sure that the installation of the extinguisher is as per the manufacturer's instructions. Every single cylinder comes with a manufacturing bracket, fitting bracket that we manufacture that's got proper vibe and shock testing. We've seen brackets that are secondhand or, you know, fit yourself because it didn't fit into the space, especially on the replacement jobs. So it's a retrofit, you know, older boat. So it's very important to fit the correct bracket because those are pressurized cylinders, and when they come off and they're not strapped properly, mounted properly, they could fall off or just, you know, come off and not do the job. So different sizes extinguishers, different types of brackets, same principle. You have a shelf bracket at the bottom that the cylinder sits in, and you have a hoops that hold it in place to protect it during the discharge or just during fitting. There are different versions of accessories that come with the fire extinguisher. First of all, to monitor the state of it. For the diesel boats or automatic discharge, there's different versions of engine shutdowns. So every single extinguisher will come off with this simple LED plate. It's the most basic visual indication. Green LED means good, you've got pressure in a cylinder. No LED means you either lost pressure or the cylinder's gone off. Most of the people or shipyards opt out to fit a little bit more a complex display unit that's got not just visual but automatic, audible version as well. So it's got a little buzzer, so you will also be able to hear it when there is an alarm. And in the instance of fitting an engine shutdown, which is only a requirement for if you have an automatic discharge, you have to shut your ventilation and your diesel engines prior to discharge. It's not required for petrol boats, only for diesel boats, but you then have to have a function of an override, because if it's a false alarm, you still have to be able to start your engines following the either a low pressure alarm or a discharge of the extinguisher and get back to port if you were outside in the sea, or just to make sure you can keep going while you refill your cylinder or troubleshoot the fault. Part of the electronics should be part of the survey. Make sure that it's connected correctly, that it's working. Obviously, All of our cylinders are required to be regularly checked. There is a recommended maintenance in the manual for the owners. They come with the little tag on the neck that hangs around the cylinder that not many people use these days, but they should at least check the state of the cylinder and make sure the pressure is okay on a monthly basis. This doesn't happen very often, so 6 monthly at least, and then an annual service is required by not just an MCA, but your insurance company as well. So approved third-party service agent to provide an annual service, it's a must. Each extinguisher's got 10 years life. After 10 years, you can hydrostatically test it, and that gives you a further 5 years, or you can go and buy a new one. Part of the annual inspection should be the correct operation of the electric equipment as well. So make sure that you can shut your engines, override it, shuts the ventilation, and then go back to the normal state. This is the manual pull cable that comes as a secondary option, or if you're doing a manual only activation, that's the only option of activating your fire extinguishers by pulling the manual pull cable. The fire handle or the activation handle is normally mounted somewhere outside the space. Most of the time, helm, flybridge. If you have a small control or navigation bridge, it could be mounted there. The pull cables come in different lengths. There is like an inner, very thin stainless steel cable that's within the rubber heat protective sheet. So you're just basically pulling on the inner pull when you pull the handle. In some conditions, you might require cable angle adapter. So if you have very harsh angles, you need to fit those to allow for the smooth pull of the cable. This is samples of some of the installations on some of the boats. As I mentioned before, the position is very important. Ideally, you want the extinguisher fitted on a center line. That's not always going to be possible. So deviation in a clear space somewhere where you've got an open space for the 180 nozzle to, reach all of the space. Maximum distance from the ceiling. So you want the extinguisher higher rather than lower. So maximum distance from the top bulkhead, it's 24 inches. If it's too low, the gas is heavier, so it will fall down as it discharges. No obstruction is important, especially with FK, because it's stored as a liquid. So you want to have at least 1 meter of a clear space for the discharge, for the gas to get out and spread around the room to do the job. Lots of the time we see nozzle positioned to the side, especially facing like the corner. That's not correct. You might want to ask them to face it in the room. You don't have to face the extinguisher towards the hazard. It's not like a dry powder or anything. So it'll flood the whole space when it discharges. So it doesn't have to be close to the engines. Some of the bigger boats that require, they have a bigger engines room, require different size extinguishers, because the single cylinder MA range that we do only goes up to 51.5 cubic meters. So we also have a GA series range, which goes up to 4,000 cubic feet or 113.2 cubic meters. So you might come across those on a bigger fishing vessels that got quite a big engine rooms, some of the small commercial vessels, and some of the bigger pleasure boats. So the difference is that the GA system using FK5112 can protect space up to 2,000 cubic feet with single cylinder, or dual system, which is connected, can protect up to 4,000 cubic feet. Now, the dual system is connected with something we call a GA link. It's stainless steel hose with 2 thermal sensors that connect the 2 cylinders together. Now, this can be placed inside or outside of the protected space. Most of the time it will be inside, but this is the only time you can have 2 cylinders fitted within one space, because it allows for simultaneous discharge within 10 seconds. The reason for that is that the connecting link is also pressurized, and both of the valves are both of the valves are the pressure differential valves. So basically, if one of them goes off, or if you lose the pressure in a link, it'll set off both of the cylinders at the same time. So that allows you to split the volume of the gas between the two, because it will still go up at the same time under 10 seconds. That's the only time we recommend fitting or allow fitting 2 cylinders within the same space. The difference there is the nozzle for the discharge is fitted off the pipe, not directly on the cylinder itself. So you would have to fit a bit of the vertical and horizontal pipe with an elbow, and the nozzle is placed up. It's a 180 degrees nozzle only, so you still have to make sure that the nozzle's positioned in the right direction. But what it allows you to do is you can have a cylinder placed in one corner or somewhere else, the other one in there, and then basically the nozzles face into the room, and you have 2 extra temperature sensors on the link that can run across the back of the space, for example. It allows you temperature sensors in 4 different positions in the protected space. That can be activated manually as well. You only need 1 manual pull cable to one of the cylinders that will then set off both of them at the same time. Same monitoring for the pressure gauge, pressure switch, and you will also have a pressure gauge on both of the thermal sensors that are on the GA link. Before I go into the fire detection, would there be any questions for fire suppression or anything with regards that we've gone through? Okay.
Any questions?
So fire detection is as important as fire suppression, especially if you are fitting manual on the system. You need to know that you have a fire before you can activate your cylinder. But regardless, ISO 9094, which is the small boat protection, also MCA, require fire detection on all the small vessels. The requirements there can vary. On ISO, you don't really know, you can fit a 9-volt powered smoke detector that you buy in a B&Q, but it won't have the same, function as some of the conventional fitted systems. That's why Fireboy's gone and designed very small, low-cost, simple 2-zone, 4-zone, 12-zone systems that can be fitted. Gives you a monitoring from one space. This is the simplest version we do, FBD2, small display. It's got audible visual, allows you to monitor 2 zones at the same time. Each zone can have up to 8 detectors, so you can split. You can have detectors for machinery space on one zone and accommodation on a second zone. 24 VDC power, very simple, 2-wire system. Green means good. So you've got a red LED for fire and amber LED for fall. Then you've got a power LED at the bottom. You can fit a separate sounder circuit on it because it's got a relay output if you wanted to, if you need an external sounder. But if you have an alarm, the display will alarm you in a helm or in your control position. That's one of the smallest and cost-effective systems out there. If you need a little bit more than 2 zones, this one monitors 4 or 12 zones. Very simple use. It's got an LCD display, comes with a separate I/O unit, and you can, if you bit tech savvy yourself, you can decide how many zones you want to see. You can program yourself the text for each zone. So you can say this detector zone 1 galley, zone 2, I don't know, main cabin. And you can change the settings just by, using a text file. You write it as a text file and plug it in with the USB in the back of the input unit. Same 8 detectors per zone. This one's got 2 separate sounder circuits. A little bit different display. It actually comes up with a text that says zone 1, and you can give it its description. And then it comes out with a default all alarm for each zone. You can also put a screensaver, you've got a mute button. So it's got a little bit more functionality than the basic 2-zone system. Then we move on a little bit more complicated fire detection panels. This is analog addressable 2-loop panel. You probably come across those only on the bigger pleasure boats and some commercial vessels where you really want to know each detector's position, location. It uses a protocol that allows you to name and see position of every detector. It checks, it's got 2 loops. The panel communicates with each device every couple seconds, so it's very good for fault finding. It allows you to have a further use of, you can do lots of cause and programming on the panel. So it's mostly probably used on bigger boats, pleasure boats, fishing vessels, commercial vessels, where you either need to have the extra capability of, I don't know, holding the fire doors open or releasing them in case of the fire, or you can set the certain detectors. If they are in alarm, you can then operate the ventilation or use different programming related sentences to do stuff on the panel. It can have up to 126 detectors on each loop. It's got 2 separate sounder circuits, and you can network as many as 64 panels together to give you quite a big a network of detectors. The panel is quite large, so on some boats you might see it fitted somewhere in a cabinet, and they're only having a flash-mounted repeater panel somewhere on helm, or sometimes they use something like a Modbus output or RS485 to communicate directly with the automation systems, especially on pleasure yachts when they're trying to, you know, be sleek and not have a big metal box seen somewhere. We also do marine approved or MED approved bigger conventional panels. It also does for 8 or 12 zones, same like the little LCD screen, but the LCD screen ones only hold CE and UKCA approval, as this one's got a full MED or UK MER at the moment, as we call it. So this one is for anything that's like a classed vessel, so commercial vessel, high-speed craft, passenger vessels maybe, or fishing vessels above 24 meters. I know most of you probably don't deal with the larger boats, but we also offer an engineered systems. You might come across those on some of the older above 24-meter pleasure boats, especially, or commercial vessels like Red Funnel, Isle of Wight, White Shipyard, stuff like that. So the difference between those is they can be operated manually only. Automatic activation is not allowed. There are different versions of manual activation. You can use an electric release panel. So if you have an alarm, you then first activate your engine shutdown. So you shut the engines, you shut the ventilation, you give a 20-second warning to everyone in the engine room to evacuate, shut the doors, and then you release extinguishing with the second button. That still counts down minimum 20 seconds, average 25 seconds before the extinguisher is released. You can obviously abort if needed by pressing the same button. Or if the electric activation fails or you have no power, you can then use the manual means. So it's either just a red stripe on top of the cylinder that you would hit, or secondary option, there is a pull cable as well, or the CPM also got a big handle, so you can just basically pull the lever and it will do the same job. All of this would be fitted outside of your engine room. So you use galvanized steel pipe to pipe the nozzles and into the engine room to release the agent. So you will have access to the manual activation, because they should be placed outside of the protected space. These ones do fall under the same rules. Annual inspection required, must by a third party, 10 years life as well. After 10 years, again, you need either hydrostatic testing or a complete replacement. In this case, I would probably say it's cheaper to do hydrostatic testing. On the smaller ones, might not be worth going through that. Might be just better to replace it. Gives you 10 years of life instead. And this is something that we've designed as a suitable system that's suitable not just for MGN 627, which is the new regulation for grandfathering rights, as we call it, for passenger boats that are non-machinery space class A. So it's a smaller passenger boats that have not had to comply with the rules up to this year. You see like lake boats, cruise, little passenger cruise, take you around the, I don't know, Brownsea Island, for example. So the requirement there is for a pre-engineered fire suppression system, but it has to be manual operation only. It has to give you audible and visual warning. To be able to provide all of that, we use our standard pre-engineered range with manual only activation, where the red handle of the pull cable is fitted in the red box, which has got a micro switch inside. So when you open the box to go and activate the extinguisher, it will set off a sounder fitted inside of the protected space with the warning notice, giving everyone, warning that the discharge is imminent. You should then count down 20 seconds before pulling the handle, and display unit will then alarm them, let them know that the discharge has happened, or that you have a fault, and it will also alarm if you have a low pressure switch. Because this is manual only discharge, you have to have a fire detection fitted as well. Minimum requirement is for fire detection in a machinery space. So you could just fit single detector. You could fit one of the 2-zone panels, which allows you to monitor then your passenger area, your machinery space. The requirement for the system, unfortunately, is that it has to be addressable, because they want to know exactly which section has gone off in alarm. But we've had a certain clarifications because we've been talking to MCA about it, and it doesn't have to be necessarily an addressable panel. You can use a conventional panel as long as you don't fit more than one detector per zone. So that still allows you to name the zone, so you know which detectors went off. The requirement is for the detectors to be EN54, so you would not be able to fit just any detector like a 9-volt battery powered one. You have to get a proper fire detectors in there. So similar rules apply to other boats like MGN 280 and fishing vessels, where manual activation is not is the only one allowed by MCA. So if it's a fishing vessel classed by MCA, you would not be allowed to have an automatic discharge under those rules. Now I've got a short video. I didn't know if we've got time to have a look at that. It just shows the if I can get through on that one. Yeah. Might not work with the Wi-Fi.
Fireboy-Xintex is a leader in innovation of safety products for the recreation and commercial, marine, transportation, and industrial markets. We specialize in fire suppression and fire and gas detection, offering a variety of products for a multitude of applications. Since our founding in Grand Rapids, Michigan in 1973, and eventual expansion to Port Dorset in the UK in 2006, we maintain a continual dedication to manufacturing the highest quality products. This unwavering commitment has positioned us as the supplier of choice for the majority of customers in the industries we serve. Our detection and suppression systems are built in-house by highly trained and passionate staff, and are subject to rigorous and continual testing, guaranteeing that our customers receive the most reliable and safe products in the industry. The US and UK facilities encompass our manufacturing, engineering, market research, sales and customer service departments, and our ISO 9001 certified QMS companies. The clean energy fire suppression system we produce in factory neutral United States Coast Guard, WIRD, ABS, EPA, MCA, ISO 9094, and worldwide approvals, and our carbon monoxide and gas detectors are designed and manufactured to satisfy the regulatory standards demanded of this class of products. As the markets we continually research change, our engineering teams continuously innovate new products to meet these changing demands. Superior quality performance is built into every product, every time.
Yeah, it doesn't like I mostly wanted to see the discharge of the fire there. So I don't know if you noticed that because it's been jumping a little bit. We have obviously proper fire test laboratories because we have to go through those every time there is any change in the regulations through the fire testing. So I wanted you to see the discharge of the extinguisher live there, but it's not really liking the internet. So sorry about that. Do you have any questions with regards the
Any questions? Fire suppression systems.
Yeah, can I ask a question? Isn't FK being phased out?
No.
Oh,
no,
it's also, it's marketed by 3Ms now.
well, there was the Novak.
They say they're gonna stop making.
They are, yeah, the Novak 1230, which was the brand name. So
Yeah.
if you bought it from 3M, it would have been branded Novak 1230. So they have come out with a statement in December last year, I believe, so saying that they're stopping their full range of 3M products, including Novak. It wasn't just the extinguisher. I think there was another 600 products listed there. It was to do with the PFAS contents during the manufacture. That has been lodged with the ECHA because as far as we know, I mean, we've not seen any of the research done for 3M. Everyone else is basically, so there's a study going on at the moment that's been going on since last year. So far, they're only saying that it's been looking at the medical devices, some of the textiles and other solvents. Fire suppressant, it's still out there, so it's not been put through any control measures or anything yet.
So you source your FK from?
No, yeah. So different suppliers have gone out there and said they use different manufacturing processes, and basically they're opposing the action, saying that they do not produce PFAS during their manufacturing process. So at the moment, all the evidence has been put through and is going through a study. The latest update was last week, actually, through European Chemical Agency, saying that they're looking at the results from 5 different categories, but fire suppression was not one of them. So if there's going to be any control measures, it might not be another 5 years before it comes into effect at this point.
There's a chat there, I don't know if that's an.
Oh, that's the main man referencing the video.
Okay. Any other questions? Martina, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just a thought, I don't go on as many boats as any of you, but whenever I do and I look at the service sticker on the firefighting equipment, it's always out of date. Paul, we went on one somewhere and it was 8 years out of date.
It's
So
very seldom that anybody do anything to the fire extinguisher. It looks nice, they polish it, and it looks new. And as far as anybody else is concerned, it works. If you've ever tried picking one up, especially the 1 kilogram, it's been there for 12 years, but it's a powder that just goes like concrete. It's what you never throw it over and run because it's never going to work.